Hello and welcome, Facebook. I would say hello, Facebook Live, but this is a pre-recorded interview, and I'm so sorry we couldn't make that connection on Facebook Live today, but 'tis the season that sometimes Zoom, virtually, conversations don't get translated on social media, but that's okay. Hi, my name is Kellie Davis, and as you know, I'm running for Oceanside City Council District 3. And I want to say at the top of this pre-recorded message here that this is not an endorsement. This is not an endorsement. This is not an endorsement. I want to make sure that Wounded Warrior Homes gets all of their funding, no matter what party you represent, because this is part of our campaign. Is we want to identify those organizations that are doing the work to combat our most serious issues. And today, Venus has invited, and I said, Venus Johnson? Yes, of course we'll have Wounded Warrior Homes on. So I want to first thank my awesome campaign manager for coordinating this event, since Wounded Warriors, which is a slightly different organization, is something that's dear to Venus Johnson and her father's heart. So we got introduced to Wounded Warrior Homes. And we have on our show today, Mia Roseberry. She is the executive director and co-founder of Wounded Warrior Homes. And first, we just want to welcome the amazing Mia Roseberry on. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Good.
I appreciate it.
Good. So why don't we just jump right into it, because I am so curious. We had a wonderful little conversation before the interview, and now I'm like, she has some yummy stuff in there. I know it. So if you can tell a little bit about the history of, like, why did you found this? What are you doing there? Why are you doing it right here in North County?
Well, so Wounded Warrior Homes, we provide transitional housing and reintegrative support services for post 9/11 veterans with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. And in 2009, my husband and I were challenged we were in some entrepreneur trainings, and the trainer challenged everyone. He says, you need to give back to the community. And we said, oh, well, we do, this long list of ways that we volunteer in the community. And he said, oh, for those of you who already do something, it needs to be bigger. And so on the drive home from Las Vegas, where the training was, we started talking about who in our community we could serve. And I have 4 generations of Marines: grandfather, father, brother, nephew. And my nephew was currently serving at the time. And we thought, well, let's look at the military. Let's look at, the current situation in 2009 and what was going on, and who was coming home and what kind of support they needed. And at the time, our daughter was dating a Marine out of 29 Palms. So every weekend we had a house full of guys. They were here 5, 10, 15, 20 guys. They'd go out for the evening and come back, and in the morning there'd be a whole new group of guys that I didn't even see the night before here. And you get to know them. They become family because they're here almost every weekend. And they start talking about, brothers, biological brothers, brothers in arms that are getting out, and either their time is up, or they get out, they're medically discharged, or they had other than honorable discharges because they had PTSD and traumatic brain injury. And they were going home and their lives were stopping. And it's like, well, okay, what's causing this problem? And many times they were going home to areas, many of our military are from the Midwest, and they're from smaller towns. And the services that we have here in San Diego, we have no idea how lucky we are. They do not exist in many other towns across the United States, large or small. So we thought, well, we got in touch with the Wounded Warrior Battalion at Camp Pendleton, asked them what they needed, told them what we wanted to do. And they said that the veterans with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress were falling through the cracks, and they weren't receiving the services that they needed. And, San Diego has, I believe, I just saw a most recent statistic, the 2nd largest veteran population in the United States. It's second or third. We come and go. And if all the services are right here in San Diego, where our veterans, where our active duty guys, they get out of the military, they become a veteran, why in heaven's name are they homeless? Why are they sleeping in their cars? Why are they couch surfing with their buddies? And you know, couch surfing is fine, but if your buddy's got a family, there's only so long that you can stay. It's time to get your life back on track. So Wounded Warrior Homes was born in late 2009, and we got our nonprofit status in early 2010. And in 2012, we had enough money to open up our first house, which was in an apartment. And we transitioned into a house. Now we have 3, and we're here to serve our community. That's really what we're here to do. And our veterans no one, I don't want to say just our veterans, but no one deserves to be homeless. No one does. Our focus is veterans. And our veterans need to know that in many cases, for one reason or another, they're alone in the world. They don't have family, they don't have access to their family, they don't have good connections with their family. And we're here to sort of become that support system to help them get back on track. You know, the biggest thing is when we go home at night, when I tell this to anybody, when you go home tonight, stop outside your door and imagine if that door is no longer there. Your home is gone. Now what are you going to do? Where are you going to sleep? How are you going to eat? How are you going to feel safe? How are you going to be prepared and be a strong, solid employee tomorrow if your whole focus tonight is how am I going to sleep safely? You know, I might show up for work, but if I haven't had a good night's sleep and I don't feel safe and I haven't had the proper nutrition, I haven't had a shower, as much as I want to be a good employee, I'm not giving you my best. So by us being here to support our veterans, to give them our best, they can give the community their best.
And I want to thank you, first of all, for your service. And I want to thank you for sharing that, because I can't think of there's many nonpartisan issues, but this one here, this affects all of us. It has, and we all as a community, because you hear a lot of people complaining about those people, the homeless. And certainly on one of my first forums, because I've done work as a young adult in shelters, and when I was living in New York, and I was very aware that we are all either one circumstance or one natural disaster way of being homeless. So I thank God that I went through that process at such a young age to really have a human viewpoint about it. And so when I got on the first forum, and some of the people running, at least in my district, were talking about the drug addicts and these unruly people. Mia, what I was about to say just flew out of my head, because I said, okay, first of all, let's look at this with some care instead of contempt. So let me just say that. And yes, there are people that have addictions that are out there. I would be crazy if I didn't say that, but let's first of all talk about the why, and that's not all that's out there. And I'm so happy when I see organizations like your organization, Wounded Warrior Homes. I don't know if you know Kellie Davis over there at the Homeless Veterans of San Diego. She also is out there on the front lines, and she shares a story. Another Marine, young man, was in the foxhole in the Middle East, somewhere serving our country. And he swore to the gods, I will never be in a foxhole again. I will never be in this situation, and you just think about a young man, in a foxhole with weaponry and being scared, and just, this is where my mind goes. And he comes back to his country, and now he's homeless. Mm-hmm. And his foxhole has turned to the riverbed. And he starts feeling guilty because of the choices that he felt that he made to be in this situation. But he, like you alluded to, Ms. Roseberry, that he he didn't feel like there was services for him. And I want to ask you about Wounded Warriors and placing this. It's temporary housing, I believe.
Right.
And is it because that they have been labeled with PSD,
PTSD.
PTSD, or is it because he may have had some problems with addiction that sometimes they're not able to transition to housing right after? What is that?
It literally could be something as simple as they thought life was going to look different. They had a different plan. They weren't able to find a job. They weren't able to make the transition. Yes, some of the young men in our program have had drug and alcohol addiction issues, but we are a drug and alcohol free program. So by the time they get to us, they've managed that.
Okay.
And we support them through, because it's not just done one and done. I mean, it's there forever. So we support them in ways to stay clean and sober. If they slip, we have programs in place, ways to help them get back on track, places if necessary that we can get them admitted so they can get more extensive support, and then they can come back. It doesn't, and if it becomes a chronic problem, then we need to look at it. But every veteran is different. And, we've had veterans who've been married, and they came home, their PTSD was not being managed. Things at home got out of control. Their spouse said, I don't feel safe. I'm worried for the children. It's time for you to go. Every single person, like you said, it's just one circumstance away. We've had the first veteran in our program, Robert, he had difficulty finding a job. He thought that he was going to be able to make the transition and that he was prepared. And he was literally $80 in his pocket, and he had his hand on the door at a homeless shelter when I called him. We'd been working together for several months, and called him and said, we got the keys to the apartment.
Oh.
It was September 14th, 2012. It was 109 degrees that day, and he was living in his car. And that night we sat on the apartment floor. We didn't have furniture because it happened, and literally happened just like that. We didn't have the keys, then we had the keys. And we said, I'll get the beds sent here, because the beds were being delivered to my house. And I said, I'll divert the delivery. I'll get you a bed tonight, and then tomorrow we'll start bringing in the furniture. And he said, I don't care. I have a roof over my head. I'll sleep on the floor. We sat on the floor and had Chinese food for dinner. It was my birthday, and I said, it's actually a birthday for all of us, because today we're able to start this transition for you. And he only stayed with us for 4 months. And now he's a college student. He loves to learn. So every time he gets a degree, he goes back to school again. He is a yoga instructor. He has doing well on his own. We see him. He has a service dog, and we work with Helen Woodward in Del Mar, and they work with Blue Buffalo. So we get food for service dogs. So he comes in to get food for his service dog. Then he has access to our pantry. So all the veterans in our program, even though they've transitioned, if they're still in the area, they still have access to all of our pantry services. And if they're not, they still have access to us. They can call, they can ask for help, they can get referrals in their area. Just because they leave doesn't mean we go away. So we're always there for that support. And, some of the guys have gone out on their own, and then they're suddenly out on their own. They've never even lived alone. And that creates a few problems. And so we're there to help, okay, what do we need to do? Where are you at? What's going on? And how can we support you? So everyone that's left, if they will allow us, some of them don't. Once they're done with us, they want to be done with that chapter of their lives. So they really don't want connection, but we still reach out, and it's their choice to reach back. So.
And is it correct to say, so is this temporary housing that you give them to get them on their feet? How does this, so put it this way, walk us through, a veteran comes to you, may or may not have been living on the streets, maybe come back over. How does that work?
So it's an application process. It's called Transitional Housing. It's a month-to-month program. It can be up to 2 years, but you're a month-to-month. So the idea is you put in an application, you come for an interview. We want to make sure that we're supporting what you need, and that that our program fits your needs, basically. And you need to be drug and alcohol free, the desire to move your life forward, either going to school, getting a job, whatever that is, work on getting your benefits. Some of them say, I've already tried, I don't want to do it anymore. And it's like, well, we're alongside you now. Let's keep moving forward, because whether you want them now, you're going to need them later. So let's keep moving forward on that. And so then once we go through all of the interview process, we go through the documentation, they move in, and then the first thing we give them is a sheet that says, what are the top 20 things that keep you awake at night? No matter what it is, write it down. And that gives us a guide for where they're at and where they want to go and what they need to work on. They've had legal issues, family court issues, credit, debt. If we move along and suddenly all our money is gone, the bills are still there, the car payment is still there, those things are still there, but now you're not making that payment. So now your credit goes down. You can't get an apartment. So we have to work on all of those things. So we have financial literacy training classes, and they're of course now on Zoom for the veterans in our program. They have access to our pantry. They get all new bed linens, bedding, towels. They have access to our food pantry. They move in, then they meet with our program coordinator right now via Zoom once a week. They check in every day to let us know what their plan is. And together with our program coordinator, they create a plan for their future. Where do you want to be in 2 years? Where do you want to be in a year? What's the most immediate things we need to work on right now? Where do you want to be in 6 months? If they move in right now, we're in the middle of a semester. So what are we going to do till school starts again next semester? What can we work on right now to keep you moving forward? If you want a job, what do you need to do to get a job? Do you have a resume? Do you have any idea how to go through an interview? I had to rewrite a resume for something recently. My goodness, the resumes don't even look like they used to look. They're completely different now, the way you write them. And that was hard alone for me. And so it's really getting down and sitting there. They do the work, but we're there to give them the guidance for what direction they need to do and make those connections within the community for the things that they need to get accomplished.
Well, like many of you all who have received the call and are doing it to help bigger, to contribute more to our community, and certainly in this way, I'm sure you welcome donations and volunteers and help. So we're going to make sure we put that when we do air it on our Facebook, those websites and those connections. Can you tell a little bit about, hey, it's you and your husband and some other folks, but you could sure use some donations and help. Can you share how they can help you?
Well, the way they can definitely help is we have, especially the easy part right now is we have an Amazon Smile wish list for things that are both for the veterans in our program. We have a veteran who's transitioning out at the end of the month. And, we literally said to him, what do you have and what do you need? What do we have? Because we have a trailer here that has some basic household items in it that people have donated. What you can shop in there, that's what it's for. What do you need? We can check out, we have people in the community that we can reach out to for getting furniture. But Amazon Smile, we always could use pantry support because the veterans in our program have access to our pantry. But especially since COVID, we have really gone up probably about 500% on our pantry access to other veterans and their families in our community. So if it's a veteran in our community or a veteran who's been in our program who needs access to, healthy foods, then we have a pantry. So the pantry can always use support. Cleaning supplies. I think we're good on bed linens right now, but that's where I would look on our Amazon Smile page. And volunteers are kind of hard to work with right now, but definitely volunteers in the future, because in the summer, we're usually doing beautification projects on our homes, and we go in and do cleanups and, paint and weeding and, and projects there. But, you know, with everything going on, it's been really hard to do that this summer. So we'll definitely be needing, you know, we've gone in and done some of it ourselves, but it's been really hard to work with a lot of volunteers. We're also looking for board members. We're always looking for people who have great ideas, who want to be a part of this team and supporting the veterans. You know, people who've served, people who have a finance background, you know, people who have event planning, you know, whatever your background is, if you're interested in being on our board, we're always looking for strong community members to participate on our board. We are a staff of 5. We have a couple independent contractors, and you know, we're some of us are working remotely, and some people are in the office. We have the assistant directors in the office every day, but everything is by appointment right now if you need to come in. And if you need support with our pantry, you can just there's an application. It's just a single page, so we get the information on who we're serving, how many people in your family, so we know. We're hoping, we're still waiting to see how Toys for Tots is going to play out this year. But normally we are not only a collection, but we're a distribution for the people who have access to our pantry as well.
Okay. Well, that's good. One of the things that since I've been on the campaign trail, that I've been encouraging folks to really look at the housing insecurity situation a little differently and to become more involved. So I'm glad that you said there's that people sometimes have the idea, okay, I can't donate, I don't want to go and volunteer, but the thing is, you can share whatever. If you're a person that's good with social media, we were talking about this earlier.
Yes,
when you
it's not me, that's for sure.
That, you know, Wounded Warrior Homes could use someone. If you like social media, you're good at social media, you know, you offer your services that way. I'm sure you wouldn't turn anybody away who knows how to grant write. You know, people may need to just kind of think about where they are and how they can help, because this housing insecure crisis, well, it's not going away. And we have veterans, we have people who are in our community that are still here. So I want to applaud. Thank you so much for saying yes, Mia Roseberry, because this is something that is needed. So I wanted to ask you a question. Down in San Diego, there's a woman, I believe her name is Sue Reynolds, and she was talking about permanent supportive housing. And I don't know if this is something that Wounded Warrior Homes has done or would be interested in, but the veterans that do come to you, are they all pretty, I don't know if self-sufficient is the right word, but do they need more support once they get homes? Like, is their PTSD severe that they're not able to care for themselves? Is there programs to help people kind of work through that process with support once they do get a home? You know, management, you know, all the things that we assume when someone has a home, you're able to, you know, buy groceries, money management, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, for our veterans, that's part of our transition process. From the day they come in, our transition process starts. We work with financial management, what it would be like to buy a home, what you need to do when you own your own home. I mean, some of them have never had a gas bill or an electric bill in their name. And you don't realize how much it costs to do that, because you don't just turn on the electricity. They want a deposit, and you know, there's a lot of upfront stuff that goes into moving out. I think we calculated it that it is, to move into even just an apartment in San Diego, I think we calculated that you need to save up about $8,500 before you can even apply, because of all the deposits you need and everything it costs. So the biggest thing is, once the veterans move out, they still really have our access to our support, and they can stay anywhere from 1 month to whatever. Like I said, it's up to 2 years, but it's a month-to-month program, and they need to be working the program. That's the key. They need to be doing what it takes to move their lives forward. If they just want to sit around and do nothing, then we are not the place for them, because we're here. How are we going to get you to the next step? What's that next step look like? How are you going to get there? And when you get out on your own, we're still here. You know, we're here to support you. we had a veteran who bought a house during COVID, and he moved up to Menifee. I was just talking to him the other day. He's a full-time student. And, he said, God, I wish I could get down there to get some food. And I'm like, well, let's talk about meeting halfway, and I will bring you some stuff and we'll go out to lunch and, can sit outside and eat. So let's go out to lunch and I'll drive up, tell me what you need, and I'll drive up some food to you. I've gone up, we've got two previous veterans from our program that live up in the Hemet Menifee area. And so we drive stuff up there.
So what is the question that you wish that you are asked when people say, how do people get involved? Or what would you say that you would really like to say? You have a platform here to talk about Wounded Warrior Homes and getting involved or any of that.
My goodness, I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question before. I don't know, other than I really just appreciate the fact that people take the time to get involved. Your involvement with Wounded Warrior Homes or another charity, if the veterans aren't your thing, get involved in your community. Like we were talking earlier, you were saying, I can't just sit back and be the one to do the talk. The last thing I was thinking about doing was starting a nonprofit. I was a teacher. My husband's a general contractor. And we saw a problem and we said, just like you, it's time to stop talking about it and time to step up and do it. Running out and starting a nonprofit is a lot of work, and there are a lot of us. So if there's something that people want to do, look and see who's already doing it and get involved with them. And if there's a hole or a gap in the community, and that's what Wounded Warrior Homes came in and did. When we started, now it's changed, but when we started, we were the only drug and alcohol-free program. If you had a drug and alcohol addiction, there was a lot of support. But if you didn't, there wasn't. And so we said, well, here's our gap. Here's the place that we need to fill it. And just to remember to, if you're an employer, just because a veteran did something different than you're looking to hire for, I guarantee you are not going to find a harder working team player, independent thinker in your staff, especially the age that a lot of our veterans are. Because with that comes usually a lot of time in the workplace. But our veterans have had to think on their own. They've had to be independent thinkers. They've had to be team players. Anybody can learn how to do a job, but you've got a skill coming into you as an employer that you are not going to get anywhere else. And don't discount our veterans because, he was in logistics and it's not what you were looking for. Certain things obviously are very clear cut what you need, but, don't hesitate to hire a veteran. Or if you are interested in working with a program like Wounded Warrior Homes, call. Our number is on our website, and I'm sure we'll do all of that. But give us a call, step up, be a leader in your community. If you don't have the funding to donate, who do you know who does? Who do you introduce us to someone you think might be interested in working with us? Sometimes it's not what you have, it's who you know. And that's okay too. Who do you know? How can you help? What suggestions might you be able to bring forth? We are always looking for how we can serve our veterans better and how we can step up in our community more. And, this whole COVID has thrown everybody for a loop, but Wounded Warrior Homes is still here. Our veterans still need us, and that's not going to go away. And so we need your help in the community to keep Wounded Warrior Homes here. Because, finances are changing and things are very, very, I will not kid you, things are very tight in the nonprofit community right now. And a lot of nonprofits I know have gone away. And we're determined to make it through this and be stronger on the other side and to continue to be here for our veterans. So.
Thank you so much, Mia, you and your husband with Wounded Warrior Homes. And that's the call for action. If you please consider going and joining. If it's not the Wounded Warrior Homes, there's other nonprofits that could use your help. So I want to thank you for joining us today, Mia. I appreciate the work you're doing. Our veterans, it's something that should be near and dear to all of our hearts, because that's our military. That's who takes care of us, you know. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing. So thank you, Facebook, for joining us on this pre-recorded time together.
Can I make sure I get our website out there?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, our website is woundedwarriorhomes.org, and our number is 760-205-5050. And check out our website and check out our Facebook page.
Super. Great.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. If you just hang on a second, and we're going to just say bye to our Facebook audience, and we will see you soon again. Thank you.